Hi there, I'm Beth from the West Dallas Public Library, and welcome to True Stories for Kids. This is a brand new program we have from the West Dallas Public Library, where every other Thursday through Thanksgiving, I will be sharing a biography, so a story about a real person. And then on the Thursday that it comes out, we will have an activity that goes along with the story. So if you catch this on time, and you can stop at the library or call us up to do a curbside pickup to pick up your activity to go with the story. Now, most of the activities are meant for kids in that are school age, so like 1st through 5th grade. Some are going to be a little harder than others. If you're a little younger, you might want some help from your grown-up or an older brother or sister, or I don't know, or you'll do it yourself. That's cool too. So our first story today, our very first true story, is about Lonnie Johnson. Now, do any of you know who he is? He was an inventor, and some of you may have used the item he is best known for. Yep, Lonnie Johnson invented, do you see it there at the bottom? The Super Soaker, the squirt gun. Now, the one I had as a kid looked very similar to that, and they still have them today. So our story is called Whoosh, Lonnie Johnson's super soaking stream of inventions, because the super soaker isn't the only thing that Lonnie Johnson invented. Every day brought a challenge for young Lonnie Johnson, the challenge of finding space for his stuff. 6 Johnson kids were squeezed into their parents' small house in Mobile, Alabama. Lonnie would have loved a workshop of his own, but there wasn't room. There was nowhere to keep his rocket kits. His rocket kits, bamboo shooters, rubber band guns, erector sets, go-kart engine, bolts and screws, and other spare parts that his dad let him bring home from the shed, and various other things he had hauled back from the junkyard. Lonnie loved building and creating. Ideas for inventions just kept on flowing. He learned how to make rockets from scratch. Kids at school gathered to watch Lonnie launch them. And he learned how to make rocket fuel. When it caught fire in the kitchen, Lonnie's mom didn't make him stop. She just sent him to work outside. Lonnie wanted to spend his life designing things, building things, and getting them to work. He wanted to be an engineer. However, Lonnie took an exam that said he would not make a very good one. His dream had been challenged. Lonnie was discouraged, but he knew that whoever had graded this test hadn't met Linux. Who do you think Linux is? Let's find out. Inspired by a TV show, Lonnie had built his own robot. He made it out of scrap metal and named it Linux. Compressed air cylinders and valves allowed Linux's body to turn and its arms to move. The switches came from an old broken jukebox. Lonnie used a tape recorder to program Linux, and as a bonus, the reels looked like eyes. Lonnie wanted to enter his creation in the science fair, but he couldn't get the transmitter to work. Without it, Lonnie couldn't send commands to Linux. Science fairs came and went. Lonnie missed one and then another until he got an idea. Now, Lonnie may or may not have asked before he borrowed his little sister's walkie-talkie. There's Linux. Do you see how the reels look like eyes? But the walkie-talkie fixed his transmission issue. His school's team took freshly finished Linux to a 1968 science fair at the University of Alabama, where only 5 years earlier, African American students hadn't even been allowed. Having to compete in a place that still wasn't very welcoming, now that was a challenge with a capital C. Against other schools from all over the state, Lonnie's team won first place. Soon Lonnie left home to go to college at Tuskegee Institute, where he stood out as a self-confident, insightful, creative thinker. He stood out as a student who asked the right questions, precisely defined problems, and formulated solutions. And he stood out as the guy who built his own booming sound system out of cast-off electronics. It even had lights that flashed in sync with the beat. Lonnie sometimes studied right in the middle of his own parties. The extra studying paid off. He became an engineer after graduation, and that took him beyond Alabama. Way beyond. When NASA was sending an orbiter and probe called Galileo to Jupiter, the space agency needed to ensure a constant supply of power to the orbiter's computer memory. The engineer who had to figure out how to do it was Lonnie. His challenge was to come up with a lightweight backup system that was able to keep essential functions going in case the main power was lost. It wasn't easy. It wasn't obvious. But Lonnie found a solution. Some at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory doubted his idea would work. Lonnie convinced them it would. He was right. As it photographed Jupiter and its moons, Galileo was supported by the power package that Lonnie designed. Much of what we know about Jupiter could have been at risk in a power failure if not for Lonnie. Ideas for other problems to solve just kept on flowing. They flowed whether Lonnie was working with hundreds of people at NASA or up late tinkering with his own inventions in, finally, his own workshop. Lonnie knew the world's millions of refrigerators and air conditioners needed a new cooling system, one that didn't use R12, a chemical that was bad for the environment. He had an idea for using water and air pressure instead. To test his idea, he made a pump and nozzle. He connected them to the bathroom faucet, turned on the faucet, turned on the pump, and then what? Whoosh. The stream that blasted across the bathroom was so powerful, it created a curtain-swirling breeze. It also gave Lonnie an idea for yet another invention. This, he thought, would make a great water gun. First, he had to find or make the parts, including a pump small enough for a child to handle. Then he had to glue the parts together in a prototype, an early version with room for improvements. Finally, Lonnie tested his strange-looking squirt gun at a picnic. "Does it really work?" a man asked. "Sure," said Lonnie. "Want to see?" Lonnie worked the pump, which squeezed air into a chamber. When he pulled the trigger, the air escaped, forcing water out with a whoosh. For a water battle to be a fair fight, there couldn't be just one of Lonnie's water guns. He needed help making more. So he went to toy company after toy company after toy company. Can you see what they're saying? No, 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 no. The word no flowed again and again, but finally one company said yes. It planned to make his water gun. Lonnie also had other projects: a water-propelled toy airplane, 2 kinds of engines, and his cooling system. He found investors to provide the money for turning his ideas into products people could buy. He made a leap of faith, quit his day job, and devoted himself to full-time inventing. But soon, each plan fell apart. Even the one for the water gun. These things sometimes happen. But when they happen one after another to the same person, well, that's some pretty bad luck. Lonnie didn't have a job. He didn't have the money he had been counting on. He and his family had to move out of their home and into a little apartment. He was angry and scared. But Lonnie had dealt with challenges all his life. He knew a lot about solving problems, and he still believed in his inventions, especially the water gun. Lonnie went looking for another toy company. In 1989, he found a toy maker who was interested in seeing the water gun if Lonnie ever happened to be in Philadelphia. "But don't make a special trip," the guy said. So what do you think Lonnie did? Lonnie made a special trip. In his wife's suitcase, he carried a new prototype. He unpacked it, filled the tank with water, pumped the gun until the air pressure was good and high, and whoosh. But whoosh turned into wow. Kids everywhere agreed with that wow. Lonnie's water gun, called the Super Soaker, became a smash hit. In no time, there were Super Soakers in backyards, on beaches, in parks, and on playgrounds. Each sale of a Super Soaker put a little money in Lonnie's pocket. All those hours, all those years that Lonnie spent in his workshop had paid off big time. Now he could afford to do just about anything he wanted. So what did Lonnie do? He got a bigger workshop, which is where you'll find him today. Because facing challenges, solving problems, and building things are what Lonnie Johnson loves to do. And his ideas just keep on flowing. Now, the end, but in the back of a lot of nonfiction books and some fiction, there is what's called an author's note. And this is more information that the author wants to share with you that just didn't fit into the story they were telling. So I'm going to read you the author's note. A super soaker uses a pump to compress the air found in its water reservoir, which puts pressure on the water. When the trigger is pulled, the pressurized water can escape and whoosh. If you search the internet for how super soakers work, you'll find a lot more about what goes on inside Lonnie Johnson's most famous invention. But if you want to better understand how Lonnie Johnson himself works, then you'll put this book down, step away from the computer screen, and get permission to take something apart. Now remember to get permission, that's important. So you can see those kinds of goings on for yourself. You might even start with a super soaker. This book began with a lunchtime conversation I had with a couple of librarians in Texas. They had recently gone to a seminar where attendees were asked to draw a picture of a scientist. The most common image was a guy who resembled Albert Einstein. A lab coat, wild hair, white skin. The point of the exercise was to draw attention to the fact that scientists are more diverse than that. The lesson those librarians learned rubbed off on me, and by dinner time I had found the story of the African-American rocket scientist who invented the super soaker. What was more appealing to me about Lonnie Johnson's story was the fact that it was still unfolding. He didn't just take his super soaker money and retire young. Instead, he directed it toward hands-on efforts to solve one of the most important engineering puzzles of our day. His mission? To efficiently harness heat energy from the sun and other sources in order to generate electricity we need without polluting the planet. I loved talking with Lonnie Johnson for this book. I've never laughed as hard during an interview as I did when we discussed his work on Linux and how his family put up with his efforts, or rather, how they encouraged him. It's no surprise that today, even as he continues his own work, Lonnie Johnson makes time to encourage the efforts of tomorrow's scientists and engineers. I hope that this book will encourage them too. The end. All right, so now that we have read about Lonnie Johnson, I have 2 activities for you. Now, as I said, if you stop at the library September 24th, or maybe a day or 2 after, and we have some available, you can pick up a kit. But a lot of the supplies in this one you might already have at home, so you might be able to do it without the kit. So I will show you our projects. On to the activities. I have 2 activities for you today, as I said. The first one, you will need a pencil, which should be in your kit, a straw that's in your kit, and a piece of paper, also in your kit. What you'll need from home is a pair of scissors and tape. So for this one, first you're going to take your paper and fold it into quarters. So fold it once this way, and then fold it again this way. So then you're going to unfold it because you want to cut out 1/4. So one of these squares you're going to cut out. Then take that and you're going to wrap it tightly around your pencil. So as tight as you can get it. So just like that, and then you want to tape it so that it doesn't unravel on you. I'm going to tape the bottom and the top. gonna do one more in the middle, just so that it is secure, like so. Okay. Okay, then you can use the paper you have left over to make a cone for the top of your rocket if you want some fins at the bottom. I'm going to do a quick cone. I think I know how. It doesn't have to be perfect. Let's see. So I just did a quick little cone. And again, I'm just going to tape it. Now, if you want to, you also have the option of markers. If you get markers or crayons out, you can always decorate your rocket too. So you want to make sure that you somehow attach it. I don't know, mine sticks pretty well. Maybe a little glue might be in there, but somehow you want to attach it. But honestly, you don't need anything. You can also trim this so it's straight. I'm going to do that quickly here. Beautiful. That's a little better. A little better. So, boop. You might, I don't know, I might even have made it a little smaller, but either way, there it is. Now, you want to remove the body of the rocket, that's what you wrapped around the pencil, off the pencil. Set the pencil down, you won't need it again, it's yours to keep. Then, insert your straw into the rocket. Okay, now, let's see. Blow into the straw to launch the rocket. How far did it travel? And what can we do to make it fly farther? Well, let's see if this works. I have not tried this before, so you are seeing my first test run. Might not work at all. Didn't work at all. What did we do wrong? I think we need to close the top of the cone because I think that's where the air is escaping. We actually don't want the air to escape, so I'm just going to give my cone at the top a little twist. Maybe add a little tape here. This is called trial and error. You keep trying, you're going to have some mistakes, things that don't work, but you keep trying until you get it right. I'm sure that's what Lonnie did quite a bit. Let's see. So I can still hear air going through. Let's see. This is not attached. So that's the secret, I guess. You need to make sure that air isn't escaping from the top of your rocket, and then you can experiment with it, see what changes you can make to make it go farther, faster. If you do this with a sibling, you can try to have races or contests to see who flies the highest or the farthest or anything. Okay, project 2. For this one, you need toilet paper tube, provided. You need a balloon, this guy, in your kit. Scissors and tape. Once again, you'll need to get these from home, and we should have a couple of these little pom-poms. You could also use cotton balls if you have any old marshmallows, that might work. You might want to get those out because they might work as an option if you want to compare things. So this one we're making a power popper. So first of all, take your balloon, you don't need any air in it, and tie a knot at the end. So like pretend as if you had blown it up and you're tying it at the end. That is what you need to do to start here. So, like so. Okay. Then you're going to take your scissors and cut off, I'm going to try to show you close, about 1/2 inch from the end of the balloon. So I'm going to do right here. Hopefully this works. You want to do don't cut off too much. I'd rather have you cut not enough off than too much. So now you have a hole in your balloon, like so. Okay, you're going to take toilet paper tube and take your balloon, and you want to stretch this over the end. Now if you did make it a little big, the hole of your balloon a little big, that's okay. You can always tape the seam, because this is, again, you don't want air to come out. I'm going to tape mine anyway, just to make sure it's secure. Okay, this is a quick one. Place pom-pom in the tube, boop. Now you pull back the balloon, pom-pom's in there, and I'm gonna try another one. Let's see. Ready, pull it back. So you're just pulling the end of your balloon. Oh, that was a good one. Let me see if I can aim at the camera. I don't know if my aim's that good. I'll try one more. Takes a couple practices, but then they really fly. Wonder what happens if I do. I'm going to take my last 3 pom-poms. What happens if I do 3 at once? Ready? Well, this one was great. I like this one. Okay, so those were your 2 activities that use math, science, and engineering. You even use a little art if you decorated your rocket. Again, it might take a little trial and error, but that is part of the scientific process, and that's great. That's how you learn. So I hope you had fun listening to the story Whoosh, all about Lonnie Anderson and how he created the Super Soaker. And I will see you in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we will be reading a story about Frida Kahlo. And then we'll have another activity about her that has to do with her. All right, I'll see you then. I hope you had fun. Bye.